Hi, thanks for tuning in. This is the US Futures Weekly Chart Analysis for the week ending 7th of June 2024. First chart is the US Dollar Index Futures, which have an increased spread this week. The market had been trading right within this little zone for most of the week, but there was economic news released on Friday in the US, and prior to the news, this market drifted lower. And then once the news was released, price accelerated higher to close up and put all of the associated markets under some pressure. And you'll see that in all the charts to follow. A lot of the markets are down this week, which were up for a large part of the week. This was a very strong response this week. Whether it's justified is another question entirely, but there's no doubt this market responded very positively to it, which put many of the other associated markets under pressure. E-mini S&P, this is S&P 500 index futures. You've got the highs of the range going through there, and this market has pushed through this level this week. It's not actually a breakout, but the market is threatening to break out. And if so, it would relieve all that pressure that I've been going on about, this gap up to a new high, the pullback, the recovery, the period of consolidation in response. And if this market is able to push above this level, it will relieve all of the issues that's associated with this gap up to a new high. So pretty good result, actually. Slight increase in volume, pushed above this important level, closed with its head just above, and it looks in a good position to continue higher if trading conditions remain favourable. US Treasury 10-year note futures. Here's the important level. Price did look to be breaking out this week, but with the strength in the US dollar late in the week, this market's pushed back down and closed below the important level. The most likely response early next week at least is for a test for supply, some consolidation, and we'll just see how the market digests that economic news that was released late on Friday. Copper price futures were also trading slightly higher this week before closing lower later in the week. Volume increased slightly but remained well below average. Spread narrowed this week and the thrust lower has reduced as well. So there has been an element of support in this market. Price is trading adjacent to where there was a period of bullish absorption in the background, and that should offer some support to the market, albeit minor, coming through there. The increased volume, reduced spread suggests there was an element of buying support in the market this week. Gold price futures. Gold price futures were trading higher this week, but eventually closed lower. The lows of the range come through here, the highs of the range up here. You can see the market continues to trade within that range pretty comfortably, really. The next lower level comes through there. Volume was below average this week for the second week running. So selling pressure wasn't overwhelming. As the market was attempting to go higher earlier in the week, I think you'll say that selling pressure was actually low for most of the week. I expect the market will attempt to hold on and respect the lows of the range. There may be some testing for supply early in the week, like this, but I do expect there will be some buying support emerge at that level. Any clear break would see the price down towards 2200, but I'm not expecting that, at least not at this stage. Silver price futures pulled back a little more deeply than gold. This is always a more volatile market. you had the lows of the range going through here, and we talked last week about how this bar inferred some minor weakness, but it was also some absorption in there. But the strength in the US dollar late this week put this market under some pressure, and that saw price dip below this level here. You would have seen some profit taking drawn out. Volume was increased and above average, which probably all occurred late in the week. You may see this market come back and test the highs of the previous range for strength prior to any recovery. Like crude price futures had been holding on adjacent to this bullish absorption in the background, and price dipped lower this week. It did close back well above its lows for the week on an increase and well above average volume. So there's buying support in this market, there's no doubt. Prices held on around the 75 level, which is sort of what we expected to see. The support remained within 75 and 81. There's also buying support down here if required, but 75 to 81 seems like the sweet spot, at least in the near term. This bar resembles a shakeout. I don't think it's going to perform as a shakeout. I think it's more likely this market will perform as though this was stopping volume coming in, not climactic action, but some form of buying support that is stabilising the market back in its sweet spot above the 75. If supply does continue to be drawn out, you'll see the market coming down, and probably between 70 and 75 will be the next sweet spot below that, adjacent to this buying support previously. Euro US dollar currency futures. The important level comes through there. All the trading for the last 3 weeks has pretty much been within the range of this bar, and it continued to do so this week. There was a half-hearted attempt to push above that level this week, but when the strength came in on the US dollar late in the week, this market dipped sharply lower and back down to the lows of the range on an increase in volume. So that really was a pretty big decline in price, and I would expect the market to make an attempt to hold on at this level, at least initially, test the market for supply and see how much selling pressure remains in the market. It may be all done after last Friday's strength in the US dollar saw a lot of pressure emerge in the currency markets. British pound currency futures. The important level comes through here, and the highs of the range have been respected for quite some time now, with really only a couple of attempts to push above it, both of which have been unsuccessful so far. You can see this market has been attempting to grind its way higher, but it hasn't been successful as yet. Price was looking good earlier in the week, but the strength in the US dollar on Friday saw the market dip below this level again. Similar to the euro, I would expect a test for supply early to see how much selling pressure remains in the market. If selling pressure eases and the US dollar comes back a little bit, because it did look a little overextended on the day, you may see this market attempt to push higher. Otherwise, it's likely that sideways is the most likely direction in the near term. The Japanese yen, US dollar currency futures, and this is the start of the year here. You can see that price broke down 3 weeks into the new year. There was a little shelf built here. It was only a minor level. The next serious level comes through here. Price attempted to recover, but failed at the breakdown line, which is very common in all markets. and there was an attempt to support the market here, but price continued to grind lower. Now, if you look down here at the volumes, because this is a new currency pair to cover, these are the high volumes associated with contract rollover. But this volume this week and this volume here on this bar weren't associated with contract rollover. These are pretty high volumes that are traded volumes, on-market volumes. That suggests this bar should be respected, and you'll note that price has traded within its range for the last 5 weeks. The lows of the range probably come through there, and the highs of the range obviously through here, like this. Just watch this little zone here now. This looks like buying supports emerged on this strong up bar, and this is the consolidation in response, or perhaps even accumulation in response. We'll just have to wait and see how it develops in the future. But at this point, there does look to be a strong attempt to support the market. Now, whether it'll be successful or not is another thing completely. You can see this market's been in a strong downtrend for quite some time now. But there is definitely an attempt to support the market, and we'll just have to see how successful that will eventually be. Aussie dollar currency futures. The important level came through there. That was the highs of the range. Lows of the range through here. And prices dipped into that level in response to the strength in the US dollar late in the week. There's a complex low through here where support has been found previously. I would expect, similar to the other currencies, an attempt to consolidate early in the week, and then a response depending on how much supply continues to be drawn out. Bitcoin futures. Bitcoin futures were attempting to push higher this week, but were caught up in the strength in the US dollar late in the week. You can see price really did attempt to push higher, but eventually closed back below the highs of the range through here. Just for anyone who's not been here before, this is the old all-time highs, and this is the highs of that range. This is the secondary breakdown line. This was the initial zone where the market attempted to consolidate. It eventually consolidated down around these levels down here. You can see how the markets respected those levels previously. And right now, price is pushed up to the old all-time highs and is attempting to consolidate in preparation for another push higher, it appears. But at this point, the market's pushed up to this level a couple of times now, with just a little period of consolidation in between, but it's failed to actually break out. Now, volume was reduced this week, which suggests that it was a bit of a half-hearted attempt to push higher. There wasn't any real force or effort behind the push higher. At this point anyway, I would expect the market will test for supply early in the week. Narrow spread down bar closing mid to high on relatively low volume, and just see how much supply continues to be drawn out and how the market and all the associated markets deal with the strength in the US dollar that occurred after economic news was released late in the week. So you've got the highs of the range coming through here. I expect a little test for supply early in the week, and then a response depending on how much supply is drawn out. Back to the US dollar just quickly to wrap up. You can easily see the increased spread showing you the volatility that came out this week. The actual close above the previous close was only moderate, really. It was more the fact that price dipped so far lower and then recovered all of a sudden that caused the issues in so many of the associated markets. Now, because of that, I won't be surprised to see this market just drift lower early in the week, perhaps back to these levels, which will allow some of these associated markets to recover a little, and we'll get some normality back in the markets for a period, and then we'll just see how much supply is drawn out in response. Okay, thanks for your time. We'll be back again next week. Thank you. See ya.